Hi everyone, I'm Roman. For those who are new to this channel, I'm a software engineer. I'm basically doing web development and UIs for more than 10 years now. And this video is going to be the first in the series of short videos, tutorials, web development tutorials, and it's called HTMXR, which means how to make it in React. But it's really not only about React, it's going to be web development in general. The idea is to have short 15, 30 minutes at max videos where we'll take a look at something interesting, how it can be done in React, how it can be done with something else. Yeah, so if you like this format, if you want to see more of those videos, let me know in comments below and enjoy. Hello, have you ever tried building kind of an editor experience, a movable object on a canvas? Like basically any UI editor, whatever it is, there is an ability to move an object. So that's what we are gonna do today. It's a fun little task, but it also an interesting one because building such UI behavior can be tricky if you don't know how to do it. Like there is a bunch of edge cases. So yeah, we'll start with a project, with a React project in Code Sandbox. We'll first delete unnecessary HTML and adjust CSS. Let's give it the document some background color, light gray. Here it is. We'll also make it full screen. So full size width, full size height. There's a little margin, and that's default style, so we will zero it on the body. So now we can add a block, an actual shape that we want to render, and it's gonna be just a black box. We're gonna name it a block component. We'll add a new function, call it block, and it will return just a div. Just a tiny div with a little bit of styles, and then we will put more behavior on top of it. I'll give it a class name block. And yeah, let's put together default shape of a block. It's basically a data structure that represents a block. It will have width, height, X and Y coordinates. That's all we need. That's like the minimal setup. Now we can give it a bit of styles, a background color, and yeah, we have to pass the block object to the component so we can read width, height, X and Y and assign it to style of the div. So the data can actually be reflected on the page. Here we go. Now what we want to do is make a block positioned absolutely. And also we will move it with transform, so we'll hint the browser that transform is a property that will change frequently, and we will use will update for that. Now we need a way to interact with the block, so I will start with on pointer down event handler. So that's where the mouse pointer or finger on a touch screen is hitting a block. I'll create an event handler. And we also need some kind of state that would represent whether the block is selected or not. So we'll use local use state hook for that and make it false initially, which means that the block initially is not selected. I'll have to import React. Yeah, so now we can continue working on the event handler. So basically, when a block is pressed, we can toggle selected state, and that's it. And now we can set the Boolean value into the component where we can kind of apply some additional styling, maybe just to signify that component is selected or not. We'll add a 2-pixel red border. Otherwise, when component is not selected, the border will not be here. So you can see it works. But yeah, the border kind of grows the block, so we'll have to update CSS and make box sizing border box, which means border is going to be rendered inside of a block and it's not going to affect dimensions of an element. Now let's figure out how to keep track of mouse position. We're gonna add event listener for the entire document. And for that, we'll use React's useEffect to assign and remove a listener. And the handler function is going to read the X and Y coordinates of mouse position. And yeah, let's just try to see if it works. I'll log it out into the console. Yeah, looks okay. So now we want to keep track of those values. So we'll use another local state, and it's going to be a tuple of X and Y coordinates. Next, we want to update block position with mouse position, right? So we have the block, we have mouse coordinates. Now we want to put them together. Before that, let's move the block object into local state, because now we will want the block to actually change or update. So we will need to keep track of state. I'm going to turn the block object into default block and put it in as initial value into use state. So now we can update the block. I'll use setBlock function and pass it a function that takes the current value of a block, and then I will update only X and Y coordinates. And I'm going to take them from the pointer state, from the mouse position state. And of course, we want this effect to be executed only when mouse position has been updated. And additionally to that, mouse position is not known initially, so we want to check if it exists, and we also want to check if block is selected. So because we don't want to move the block if it's not selected, right? Let's try it. You can see that it works. It's not perfect, but yeah, it works. One problem though is that when you release the mouse, the pointer, the block is still moving. So you can grab it, move it, but it will kind of stick to the pointer. So what we want to also do is add a listener for pointer up event, right? We have one for pointer move. Now let's add another one for pointer up. That's where we will handle the block releasing part. So I'm going to add a new add event listener and remove an event listener. And I'm going to rename handler into move handler. And I will add a new one, call it up handler. Yeah, and then I'm going to check if the block is selected. Then we will deselect it. And of course, this effect should be tracking block selected value. So yeah, now it works. I want to pause here for a second. You might have been wondering, why did we add an event listener on the document, like on the entire page, the mouse up, the pointer up listener? Why didn't we add it on the block itself, on the rectangle, right? And this could, basically this is a common mistake. And the reason for it is that when you're dragging a block and then you decided to release it, it can be that the pointer is outside of the active area of the editor, for example, of the canvas, or even outside of the page itself, of browser window, because maybe it's not full screen, right? So in the case where we would add an event listener to the rectangle itself, to the block, the mouse app event wouldn't fire, and thus you will result it will result basically in the bug where rectangle will be still stuck to the pointer, and once the cursor is going back into the view, it will be stuck there, and that's basically a bug. So a common solution for that is to just add an pointer up event listener on the entire window. The next part, you can see when I grab a block, it shifts. Basically, the block shifts such that its top left corner is always under the cursor. That's not what we want, right? We want to keep the block at its current position and stick it to the cursor. So that basically means that we have to take into account an offset position of the block in relation to the mouse cursor. So that's what we're going to do now. We're going to keep track of, we're going to calculate the offset, and we'll apply it onto the mouse position when the block is being moved. For that, we will need a reference to the block element, because we need coordinate data, basically a bounding box of a block. So we'll use ref for that. You could say that we could use event target from event handler, but event target could be different depending on where exactly mouse event has landed. If it would be like another element inside of a block and it was directly under the mouse, it's going to be then a target element, not the block itself. Although the click event or the pointer down event was triggered on the block as well. Additionally to the event handler is taking an element now, and we're getting the bounding box, the coordinates using getBoundingClientRect method. So now that we have X and Y coordinates of the block itself, we'll use the pointer, the mouse coordinates to calculate the offset coordinates, the offset values. So we'll subtract mouse position, mouse X from pointer X from X coordinates, and the same for Y coordinates. So vertical and horizontal. And now if we console log the offset, you will see that the closer the cursor to the corner, the smaller the offset is. So now we can use the offset to the block without this layout shift. So we'll store the offset in local state. We'll create another tuple with X and Y coordinates for offset. Let's set them to 0 initially, and now we will add X and Y for the block together with the offset. And now you can see that it works, but there's some glitch. There's some weird glitch when I just click on a block, and that happens because the update there are actually multiple updates, like the mouse move coordinates saving update and then offset saving update. Those set states are called at slightly different points in time, and this causes the glitch. So what we want to do is apply the offset together with position of a block when it's being moved. So that's what we're going to do here. Yeah. And the final thing, we've been using top and left to position a block on a page, but instead we're going to go with CSS transform because it's a little bit more performant. It's as smooth as it was before, but the more elements you have on a page, the more noticeable it's going to be.